Okay, welcome back. It's been a while. I think it's been over a week since I made a video. Um, and this one, it's basically just for myself to kind of document it. But if you have ever thought about scaling a SaaS, or if you have built one before, or if you're currently building one, hopefully this will help. Hopefully it'll give you some ideas on how to build your own SaaS. So let's talk about where I am right now. Why? Dude, Figma's so annoying sometimes. Um, let's go scribbled so it looks very, very fun. So what I've done so far is built a product. So I built this product that I'm currently trying to sell. And then what I did is I got around, let's say 13 customers. Okay, I think I've had 13 customers in total. And actually before I did this, I sold, pre-sold, need a hyphen, pre-sold 3 subscriptions. So before I started this product, I basically just came to these 3 people with an idea. I said, hey, if you give me some money right now, you're going to basically help with the development of this app, and I'll give you a discount on the app. I just want to make sure that this is actually something you're willing to put money on. And they did. And so they got a discount on the product. Then I built the product, and now I have about 13 customers. These have come through various ways. One of my customers referred a few others. Some of them come from YouTube, and it's just kind of, it's been a little slow just kind of getting a feel for like the product and what people want. But now we get on to scaling it. And so I want to talk about kind of some of the ways that this is hard, some of the problems that I have right now, and yeah, we can just get into it. So let's talk about some of the problems that I have right now. Okay, so one of these problems is let's say customer acquisition. All right, so I have this problem of acquiring customers, okay, because it's been, I think, a little bit over a month, and I've gotten 13 customers, which isn't too bad. Actually, on average, that works out to like 3 customers a day, something like that, or 3 customers, a customer every 3 days, which isn't too bad. But it's not fast enough, okay, because I have some other problems that kind of stem from this problem. So one of those is high churn. Okay, so I've taken on 13, and now I'm at 10, roughly, with another one potentially on the way out. And so the issue here is that I could say churn is like a primary problem, but I don't actually know what the cause of my churn is. I mean, of course, when someone churns, I make sure to take a note and kind of, realize like what made them actually leave. But I think, like, well, based on the people that have churned, there's no consistent one reason. I can't say like, oh, they churned because, this happened or they didn't like this. They're all kind of different reasons. And so from that, there's nothing I can do immediately to fix that churn problem, okay? Because as far as I can tell, it's just I didn't set expectations well enough. So of course I can work on that. But I can't say like, here's how I can fix churn definitively, right? And so that means I need to acquire more customers to figure out what the cause of this churn is, and then be able to actually fix it. And then, let me see, I might need to pause this recording a couple of times. But we have another issue, which is install on quit. Okay, so another issue is actually a low profit margin. This is not really something that I saw coming, when I was working on my product. But this kind of relates back to customer acquisition, because my profit margin right now, so I'll just tell you, in the last roughly 30 days, I haven't calculated it in a couple days, but in the last couple of, let's say trailing 30 days, I've done $3,700 in revenue, and you want to guess my expenses? So I'll let you guess. All right, it's $3,200 in expenses, which I'm not a mathematician, I'll admit. That's not a good profit margin though. That's very low. So basically, I also can't really solve my. I mean, I've made some changes which I think are going to help this, but I don't actually know which costs are kind of going to stay like pretty stable as I scale up customers and which ones are going to grow with customers. And so this also relates to customer acquisition because I need to basically acquire more customers in order to figure out, okay, like what's the how are costs going to scale and how can I keep a healthy profit margin, right? And so those are kind of my main problems at the moment, right? And if you think about what you're optimizing for, I think what I'm optimizing for is really just to have a business that spits off free cash flow. Um, I think that's a pretty healthy goal. And so I have to optimize for that. And so I believe the main thing to go after is customer acquisition. Um, Now here's something I was learning about with I was just listening to Hormozy. I think Hormozy, he's a bit of a workaholic, and of course, nothing wrong with that. But he's a great person to listen to. I think in a lot of um, subject matter. And so what he says is, what can I do? Uh, which single thing can I do right now with the resources that I have available to me that will make all other solutions redundant? Okay? And of course you've heard this before. Of course everyone's heard this before. But I don't know. I've never really vibed with this question because whenever I think about it, I go, okay, what are some of the solutions? Let's just kind of make this a thought experiment. So let's say we could run paid ads. We could get affiliates to bring in more customers. God, I can't spell. So we could run paid ads, get affiliates. We could reduce churn / improve product. We could wait, I have some other ideas. Okay, and then we'll also say last thing is we could improve profit margin. All right, and I don't know. I didn't really like this way of thinking because I'm extremely intelligent. If you couldn't tell, no, I'm fucking retarded. Which is why whenever I think about this question, my brain says, well, if I ran paid ads, that would help with customer acquisition, which could fix churn because I could have more money to focus on the product, and then that would fix the profit margin because I would have more money to focus on that. And then, with affiliates, same thing, and improving the product, I could get more referrals, and improving the profit margin, I could like have more profit to do other things. And so it's kind of easy to look at any solution and be like, okay, this could solve a lot of my other problems. But I think you kind of need to take a more pragmatic approach, which I don't even know what pragmatic means. It sounds right, though. By the way, I'm sick, so if I sound like an idiot, it's because my brain is running at negative 50% capacity. Take normal brain operation, go to 0, so you're basically a vegetable, and then 50% below that is what I'm at right now. But, so yeah, these are the solutions, and this is kind of the question that I'm trying to ask myself to figure out which one to focus on. And I think one of the things that's hard about scaling a business, again, back to Hormozy, dude. Like, you'd think I'm gay for the guy, but he was saying, there's some, there's this thing people say that's like Eskimos have 5 words for snow. And I guess, like, I don't know, if you think about it in English, we have snow, sleet, hail, slush. We have ice. Like, we have, like, 5 words. But I think I get what they're saying is that just snow alone, and maybe, like, powder is another one. But they probably have powder plus like a bunch of words to describe actually snow, like that's on the ground. And so um, I think in English, what he was saying as well is we don't have that many words to describe hard or difficult, because you think of like starting a business or growing a business and you go, oh, it's hard because, you got to like stay focused and you got to work hard. And I suppose that's a part of it. Sometimes you don't want to work on something and you just have to like put your mind to it, and that can be difficult. But I think moreover, um, there's a lot of different types of hard, okay? And so one of those types of hard might be like, hey, my friends are all going to go hang out, but I have something to work on, so I need to stay home and I need to, not feel bad about missing out. So that's hard. And it's not like the hard that you might think about. Then there's a hard, where it's like maybe I'm building this business and I'm doing all this work, but in 6 months I'll find out it was a total waste of time. And so that's also hard, working when you don't feel fully confident in what you're doing. And the type of hard that I'm kind of finding here is that I could do any of these. Like I could run paid ads, I could try to get affiliates, I could work on the product or improve profit margin. One of these is probably going to lead to the best long-term result, but I don't actually know which one that is, And so basically what's hard is I have to pick one of these things and then not get shiny object syndrome and not try to do like something else. Because I'll tell you what I'm doing right now is I've been working on getting affiliates for a few days. I've been sending a decent amount of DMs and messages, and I'm not like working insanely hard on it. Partially because I got sick recently, which is fucking pain in my ass. But I've been focusing on this, and now I'm starting to realize, dude, with my profit margin, I mean, even saying it right now, I was like, all right, before this video, I was like, all right, I'm just going to run paid ads because I think I can get paid ads to be profitable. And I think that that's going to give me more customers where I can actually figure out what's the biggest cause of churn. And then I can work on fixing my profit margin and see how I can get it to scale, without losing my entire profit margin. And if I do affiliates, I might give anywhere from like 20 to 50% of the revenue on a recurring basis for each customer to an affiliate. But if my profit margin is this, which is, I don't know, like 20% or something. I don't know whether there's a dollar sign there. It's like 20% maybe. You know what? I can just do the math. I don't think you can see my raycast here, but so yeah, 14% profit margin. So I can't afford to give away 50% of that of the gross, revenue there, obviously. And so maybe affiliates aren't the right path. But at the same time, with the changes I've made, I think I'll get it back to like 50%, and then I could work on, having affiliates, further improve the profit margin, and it's a really fast way to get customers once it starts working. And then that would also give me more opportunities to focus on reducing churn because, I'm not the one running all the marketing. Affiliates would be. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like kind of tough to put all my eggs in one basket. That's like a type of hard, because you're gonna like put all this effort into running like a single marketing channel, and if that doesn't work for whatever reason, like maybe your profit margins blows dick and you can't afford to pay affiliates, then you go back to square one and you gotta like, I mean, you can cross this one out maybe, but only for the time being, but you gotta focus on something else. So that's kind of hard, and then the other thing is like Hormozy says, well, you could, like you might say, okay, what's one thing I could do to make everything easier? And I love that he said this because this is what I was wondering, but he was like, maybe you determine that the one thing you could do is improve the product so you get more referrals and, people stay for longer and it's easier to close and all this stuff. And you go, yeah, like it seems like having a better product would just help everything, but that seems too easy. But he goes, no, it's fucking obvious. Like, that's obviously a great strategy, is to have a really good product, because everything else gets easier, right? Apple's not Apple. Apple's not like the second or third biggest company in the world if they, if they sell a fucking Microsoft Surface or whatever. Actually, that's not fair to the Surface, but if they sold a fucking Dell, or I don't know, what's a shitty computer? You know what I mean? Either way, it's having a really good product is a life hack. But I think, I don't know, it's hard because I think like this does make sense, to improve the product. But I also think that it's hard to improve the product when you only have like 10 customers, right? Because I don't actually know what my most common cause of churn is, and I don't actually know what people would really want. And even if I do introduce new features, I can't really get the data on that feature because I only have like 10 customers, so there's not a lot of data there. You can't really improve the product until you actually know if what you're doing is actually improving it. um, and so yeah, I think like in a lot of cases this is the best approach. Especially because like this thing, some of the benefits of improving your product could be like get to charge more. If you charge more, then you get a better profit margin. If you also improve the product, you get reduced churn, more profit. I mean, obviously most of this is in terms of profit. Higher closing rate, more profit again, and then also increased referrals. But the funny thing about this is like, I think when you have a really young company, it doesn't actually matter. Like, let's say my referral rate was like 10%, and I have 10 customers right now, which means this month I would get 1 customer from referrals, and then next month I have 11 customers, so maybe I get 1 customer again. So maybe in like 8 months, instead of getting 1 customer every month, I get 2 customers every month. Even in a year, if I'm getting 3 customers every single month from referrals, I could still probably get that in a week from paid ads or any other marketing channel. So it's negligible, right? The increased referrals is negligible. The reduced churn, that could be negligible. I just don't know. So there's really no point in trying to reduce it right now. The closing rate, I still don't have data on it. So, what's the point? And then getting to charge more is maybe the only thing. But, like, there's so many variables to that a lot of the times you can just increase your price without changing the product. So it doesn't really matter, which I'm thinking about doing anyways because I watched a really good video. I'm sick, right? So I like lay down because I'm super tired. But then I go on YouTube and then I don't sleep. But I did listen to this great interview or presentation by Microcomp. If you watch my channel, you're probably familiar with Microcomp. And he talked about just basically raising your price. And also, I dropped my pen. Alright, I'm back. And also charging an annual subscription. And he said like he's worked with companies and he'll literally like tell them just to double their price, and when they do it, they convert the same amount of people. So you double your price and you convert the same amount of people, you just doubled basically your revenue with no downside. So I think in the beginning there's a lot of price exploration, and once you kind of get to the point where the product is good enough that like you would imagine people would stay, and like I have some proof that people stay month over month. So I just don't have enough data to say like, okay, if I make this change, will it decrease churn, whatever. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, based on what I've said, which is the other hard thing is like, if you're not focused all the time, then you kind of give your brain like time to wander and time to think about other stuff, and you go, maybe I should be doing this or that. And sometimes it's like, sometimes you just have to stop consuming content as well, because the nature of content is like, it gives you new ideas. People are drawn to new ideas a lot of the time. And so I think like sometimes you have to stop consuming content to be able to focus. But, not even the time it takes, but just like when you're eating or something, just watch some brain rot or something instead of like trying to, figure out the next hack, because you don't really need the next hack. You just need to execute. So yeah, I think like my solution is going to be to run paid ads, potentially make some content. Actually, I definitely want to make content. I definitely want to make YouTube content. I'm going to get back to it. It's not going to be like this type of content, probably. I'm thinking about making a separate channel for it and keeping this channel to be like, growth tips for growing an audience or growing a SaaS. But yeah, I mean, like with content, the interesting thing, again, back to Hormozy, dude. You tell how much I've been listening to him in the last like 3 days. But with content, you can repeat yourself so much. Like, I feel like I've made the same video so many times, but I can just keep making the same video. And like, it's funny because half the videos I watch by Hormozy, he's said the same shit to me multiple times in previous videos. And he says it, I think, in $100 Million Leads. You don't actually need to say anything new. Half the time, like, you're just reminding people what they already know. And, yeah, I mean, like, maybe that's different if you're running an AI news channel, because every week there is actually something new. But I think, in general, for a lot of kind of, like, content-driven growth, you are going to be, just repeating yourself. And that's okay, And I'd rather, like, I want to commit to making a video every day, because I used to do that, but since I stopped doing that, I guess things have kind of slowed down, and I really like making content. It's just like, you get in your head, dude. Like, I have this big document of video ideas, and every video idea I look at, I go, damn, that's a good idea. I want to make it really good, and then I just shy away from actually doing it because I'm, like, nervous, But the funny thing is, you could make the same video every single day for a month, and no one would give a shit. You would just see it in your even if you're subscribed to me, you would go, damn, that's weird. That's all. That's your entire thought, and you would go watch something else, and that video still goes out. Like, I remember one time I was getting really into like TikTok Shop, and I was researching people's ads, and I saw this one. It was like this fat chick trying to get on a horse or something like that. And she was saying like she lost a lot of weight or whatever. And I check out the account, and they literally posted that same video like 30 days in a row. They had nothing else but this one video. And it's funny because some of the videos had like 80,000 views or 100,000 views or like more, and some of them had like 100 views. And so it's like, damn, they're literally posting the exact same thing day over day. And like the first one didn't pop off, but like maybe the 15th did. And so you can kind of just like unlock more growth just doing the same thing. So either way, I just want to crank out, even if it's low quality content, I just want to crank it out and be able to be able to basically have it work. Also lets you test hooks for like your marketing. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. I think I've said everything I want to say, which is, it's just hard. There's a lot of different types of hard, and like, I was just on a walk thinking about this stuff, and I was like thinking about all these different ways I could grow the business, and I'm like, dude, I don't think I know how to prioritize. I think I literally had this thought. It's like, maybe I'm just too dumb. Maybe I'm just like not cut out for this, which is kind of a dumb thought. I actually watched a video. Damn, this is weird. I didn't think I was watching that much YouTube, but I guess I am. But I watched this video about IQ by Veritasium, and they talked about like the correlations between like intelligence and other stuff. One of them was the correlation between intelligence and income, and it was actually like very low. I think it was like a 0.2 correlation coefficient, which basically means like it's from -1 to 1, and 1 means like a perfect positive correlation, like more intelligence means more income. But it was 0.2, which basically means like it's negligible. Like, So you don't actually have to be that smart to make a lot of money. And so I don't know. It's just like your brain will toss up these thoughts. And I think part of the difficulty in building business is just knowing like, fuck that, dude. Just like you got to strike down your, your thoughts sometimes. Um, I mean, either way, like I've spent the last like few days just kind of spinning my wheels, like getting some work done, but still not really sure of where to go, like balls to the wall. And I think that, um, sometimes you just have to like, you just have to pick something and just do it and just forget about everything else and just fucking do this one thing, even if it's suboptimal. You can't actually know what's suboptimal. Of course, you can try to like guess, which is what everyone wants to do. But sometimes you just gotta like pick one thing and just do it, you know. And maybe it's a waste of time, but almost nothing is actually a waste of time. You learn something either way. So there's another Hormozy quote. You know, the work works on you more than you work on it. Um, but yeah. Anyways, that's an update on kind of the product and the business. And yeah, I think I can. I mean, I still want to grow it, like, um, obviously, but there's a lot of different ways to grow it. You could go like full bootstrap, just like a lot of businesses. They kind of you start in your network and then you like reach out to people like cold outbound, and then eventually you just kind of like build a business on referrals, which is definitely one way to do it, but it's kind of slow. Another way is to run paid ads, and then like affiliates is like rocket fuel, but in my case, I might sacrifice a lot of my profit margin to do that. And so it's like, okay, I don't know how I actually want to grow it. All I know is I just want to make like 10 to 30 grand a month in profit. But I'm also thinking about it. I'm like, dude, what if I could actually grow it to like $500,000 a month in profit, or in revenue at least? Which, if I do the math about like my TAM and my market, I think it's possible. So then, if my goal was to make $500,000 a month in revenue, then I don't know. I think I would probably have a different strategy. I think I would probably go paid ads, get a bunch of users for this use case, and then maybe see if I can widen the use case to increase the TAM and like do something like that. I don't know. But if your only goal is to make like 30 grand a month in revenue, or like 10, 20, 30 grand a month in profit, then it's really good to like keep a small kind of niche, keep super laser focused on one thing, and then just kind of like expand to that market and then just stop growing. But um yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if like that's realistic, because a business has to grow. Like if it's not growing, then it's dying. There's always churn, so if you're not growing, then you're going to be dying. And so if you just decide like, once I get to 30 grand a month of profit, then I'm going to stop doing this business, I don't know if that's actually going to work. I don't know if it can just like keep spitting out profit, because someone else is going to want to take, do the same thing, like take your market kind of, and they're actually going to be actively working on making a better product, and they get the advantage of seeing where you stopped and then leapfrogging you in features or whatever. And so yeah, I don't know if it's actually realistic. I guess the ultimate goal is either like build it as big as possible and then sell it, or build it like medium sized and then just let it die. Because I don't really think there's much of an in between. Peter Levels, I guess, is kind of an exception to this, where like he's built a bunch of products that just kind of keep going. But I don't know. I mean, I think he's like kind of, a lot of what he does is not really that easy to explain. Like the flight simulator that supposedly does like 10, 20 grand a month. It's like, I can't imagine. I've never even played it. I've seen it so much times. I've seen like a minute of gameplay total, and that was enough for me. I'm sure if I booted it up, I could spend like a minute playing and then be like, this is the worst thing I've ever done. Why would I want to pay for anything here? So I don't know. I think he's kind of an anomaly, um, but I guess some of his apps also have like a network effect, like Nomad List. That's like a job board, so that's like a marketplace where you kind of have like a network effect that's harder to compete with, which is a really hard business to start. Actually, I think a lot of his businesses have that network effect, so they can kind of get to a certain point, and then you can kind of just let it maintain. But because there, the value isn't really in the code and the improvements, but it's more in like the community that you build there. Um, so I don't know. I would never try to build that kind of business, but maybe that's why he's able to do it. But I think in a lot of cases, you kind of have to decide like, where do I want to take this? You know, and that's a hard question to ask. It's like, God, I'm gonna link that that video I watched today below, because if you're an indie hacker, if you want to be an indie hacker, it's a really good video to watch. And I also think indie hacker is kind of a dumb term. I have a video idea on that because once you start indie hacking, you realize, all right, I'm not gonna be an indie hacker. I'm either gonna like, it goes back to what I was just saying, like I'm either gonna scale the fuck out of this, or I'm just gonna be an indie hacker, and then I'll have to build like a bunch of these products, which probably sucks, to try to make something successful over and over again. You know, you do a lot of failing. So I think, I don't know, I think it's more like an indie founder, you know, or bootstrapped founder that fits, you know, what it actually is like better than indie hacker, you know. All right, anyways, I'm sure no one's watching anymore. If you are watching, then kudos. But anyways, that's the video. Thanks for watching.